welcome back to another episode of Balancing Business and Babies. Thank you for joining us again today. So I have got Brooke Shapiro on the channel today. Brooke is coming in to have a little chat with us about being a parent. Brooke is an expert in early stage startups and helping early stage businesses with sales and marketing plans, something that I think I probably do within my business, to be honest. Her main focus is on children, baby parent focused groups and parents, very similar to what Family Think Media, my business, does, but she provides coaching, leadership and project-based services, helping business owners focus on other areas in their business and trying to make parents' lives as easy as possible, which is kind of the point of the podcast. So I will let Brooke introduce herself a little bit better. So lovely to have you on the show, Brooke. It's lovely to have you on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So I'm Brooke Shapiro. I am a chief mom officer of a parent community as well called Sprinkles Parents, where I provide parents activities in person, resources to navigate and just connect parents that are lost that village together. Also, on the flip side, help baby products, parent pregnancy products, menopause products, anything focused on like families and women dynamic with their early stage marketing and sales, as Lucy mentioned, just to help, knowing most of my clients are moms, focus on their kids, take the weight off and help them thrive as well, as it's really complementary of working with parents and being able to share, connect parents with really great products, which is exciting to me. And then my most important job is I'm a mom of Jace, who is about to turn 6. He is autistic and has Charcot-Marie-Tooth, a degenerative nerve disease. I'm also the mom of Raina, who has Charcot-Marie-Tooth as well, a genetic nerve disease. So I have been one of those moms that was in the corporate 9-to-5 workplace and just needing to care for my kids and doctor's appointments and had to transition my life so that I can accommodate my kids, I can align my values and support more parents, which is what I want to do.
Yeah, I love that. My little boy is actually being tested for autism. He's 4 and he's in the very sort of mid stages of being tested, but it's such a long process over here in the UK, and we're going on nearly 3 years at the moment trying to get a diagnosis because they have to do various different things in order to get a diagnosis. People that have been out to see him have sort of indicated that it's more than likely he's going to get a diagnosis of autism, but at the moment we're still in that kind of very middle stage of being told that he more than likely is presenting and has got autism, but because they haven't officially diagnosed him yet, it is still very up in the air, and we're very sort of without help and support at the moment from anyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really difficult at the moment. There's such a long waiting list in the UK for help and support. It's not great at the moment. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you first, going on what you said, was how are you kind of managing to run a business with the 2 young children, but also children that have got additional needs, and how are you sort of coping and managing to run a business with 2 children that do have additional needs and requirements?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I don't know. No. Some days I'm just like, how did I do this? Like,
Yeah.
what did I do today? Like, I had to start
We
writing.
just have to, don't we?
Yeah, you just have to keep going. It's like adrenaline, frankly, sometimes. And I'm just like an adrenaline junkie going and going. But I had to actually, a few things I'll talk about is, one, at night, I have to, before I go to bed, I try and write down all the things I did because I don't remember. Like, I don't remember what I did from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. when I put my head down. Like, getting the kids ready. Did we run to the doctor's appointment? Did I pick them up from school? Like, you do so much as a parent. And then for me, when I get work done, I try to get work done while they're at school, frankly. I used to be able to get the work done after they went to bed when they were really little or babies, right? I think when you're a baby and you're putting them to bed at like 6, 7 o'clock, they go nurse them, they're in bed, you're done for the night. As they get a little older, I found for my business that like it doesn't really work to try and do work at night because I'm so brain dead at night almost because of the conversations that I'm having with my kids, the negotiations I'm having all night with my kids, getting the water. They have this excuse, that excuse to go to bed. Like, I can't usually, I fall asleep if I'm laying down with them. So I stopped trying to do work after they go to bed as they got a little older. I think it probably works till like maybe 2. And then it just didn't work with my life at least anymore. Now that I had my kids in daycares and preschools their whole lives, as I find it best to have them interact in a daycare. I think it stimulates them more just personally for our family. So they're usually in a daycare from like 9 to 5-ish. And then to your point, the doctor's appointments, things like that always come up. So I really only get to work maybe 11 to 2, so 4 hours a day, which is cramming in a lot. I don't know when I did. I guess it's really hard to do. I have a virtual assistant actually, which, I delegate a lot, but that takes some brain capacity. I'm not an organized person, frankly, so I don't think I could do as good of a job as I can. You still have to be really organized. You probably know to get good results with a virtual assistant because you need to give direction. And communication and giving direction is really hard to do as well. So yeah, I guess I get 4 hours of work a day if I'm lucky. And sometimes, maybe on the weekend when they're napping, I'll do some work. Or we have quiet time. We just kind of lock them in their room. Not literally. We just have them go in their rooms with like some books and quiet toys. I'm not like abusing my children for anyone listening, but they need quiet time just to like take a breath.
No, don't worry.
And so during that time, usually I nap, but sometimes I'll try and get some work done too. But yeah, it's really hard. It's frankly, I feel like it's unrealistic how now women are we're supposed to work, we're supposed to raise our kids, we don't have a village anymore to help us. And in order to, really work, you need to have, other childcare providers, to be making dinner, to be outsourcing things, at night. So yeah, it's hard.
I think, yeah, it is. And was that the reason that you sort of set up the business as it is, working for parents, so that you can kind of help provide other parents with maybe some of the support that you needed in your business?
Yes,
frankly,
that
where the idea came from.
Yeah, well, it came from, I'll start with Sprinkle's parents, where that was like my first foray into business. Was when I was at Clorox, I told my manager I was pregnant. He was like, you gained a lot of weight and I was wondering what's going on. Very nice, right? And I was like, ouch. And then he was like, and I was like, hey, but I'm still ready for that promotion. I'm a very driven person. He's like, whoa. Like, you're going to go on vacation for a few months and then you're going to come back and we'll save a role for you, but I'm not going to be your manager. So you have to like start all over again. Almost think of it as like the game of life. Like I had worked really hard, go on maternity leave, start back at the beginning. And that felt really frustrating and unfair. And I asked about maternity leave and he's like, just go to the women's bathroom and ask someone. So I was like, okay, that's a problem. So that one conversation really changed my whole life. And I was angry at him for a long time, but now I thank him because it fueled me to figure out, okay, how do I clearly lay out maternity leave? So that no other mom has to go through this? What do a manager say to help families? Then when I came back from maternity leave, my whole team was out at an offsite or something and I had to sit at an empty desk and I didn't know where the pump room is. How do I pump? Anything. So I made a toolkit of for welcoming new moms of the details and just all this. And then became a fairy and a coffee fairy in the pump room and, giving where the closest daycares are to our office, all these things and resources. So that really started all at Clorox. And then when they were like, okay, so how's your, work performance? And it was good. It was fine. But they were like, oh, you're spending too much time helping the employees and not doing your day job. So long story short, I ended up being laid off in June 2021. And I was like, what do I do now? So I just was like, okay, I'll take what I was doing at Clorox, which I was helping, over 500 employees. Let me try that, the heat of the pandemic, still 2021, and just start helping families with how do you dress postpartum? How do you talk to your kids about race? How do you potty train? How do you sleep train your kid? How do you, if you're an interracial couple, how do you raise a mixed race kid with confidence? How do you, family meetings, all these different topics that we don't learn. We don't learn how to be a parent. So I started doing that and having meetups at coffee shops and at breweries and ice cream places and all that. So there's that community. Fast forward, brands started reaching out to me being like, hey, how do I market to parents? How do I get my product in front of parents? How do I show parents that this exists? And so I started being like, okay, well, I used to do marketing, I also have a community of parents, maybe we can show them all these, the solutions you have, because companies are over here trying to make solutions. Parents are over here crying they need solutions, but we're not, it's really hard to connect the dots, maybe an Instagram ad later. So yeah, that's just kind of how it all started, is that I started helping parent founders and parent tech and asking Sprinkle's parents what they think of things and tying it all together. So
Yeah.
thanks.
I think you mentioned earlier as well about when I can't get over what your manager said to you. Actually, that's like really shocked me. You put weight on. That's really nice. That's a lovely thing to say to someone. He sounds amazing.
He was
like
promoted
you said,
too, and I was like, "How did you get promoted?" Should be
slightly so chauvinistic. Yeah, I did you a favour there. I think that was probably one of the better things that he did was your job ending at that company. I think you mentioned earlier, and I think a little bit in there as well about like the lack of support that you had. You've obviously gone into a business now, working for yourself, working with startups, and with the lack of support that you had at your previous company with that person that said about your weight. What advice or what tips would you give to a business that could enable to be more structured and enable to support working parents? What could that business have done for you at that time that would have helped you out more? And what would you say to businesses now for parents that are going into them, and how can they support them?
Totally. Well, I think there are a lot of tools now that businesses can offer parents to help, like whether offering every employee VAs, so a lot of the administrative stuff and the home stuff of making appointments can be taken off their plate, right? Because that's what I, be hiding in the bathroom, making this doctor's appointments for maternity leave, needing to file my maternity leave during the work day. Like that took a lot of my work time that I was like, this is probably not the best use of my time, that I'm spending. I think I had tracked 20 hours to file my maternity leave and figure it out based off of calling a hot, because it was so confusing and so unclear. It was so that wasn't a good use of my time. I think employees can offer, like I said, better benefits for sure that can help families. I think they can offer more support from managers, like helping the employees work through it and know that the support of going to the doctor's appointment and the support of when they come back from maternity leave, not to expect parents to jump right into a 5-day work week. That's unrealistic. That's what I had to do. I was okay, just jump back in the pool. That set me up for postpartum depression, pumping, mastitis, all these things. And if they were hey, we know it's going to be a transition for you to come back from maternity leave, come back 1 day a week and work from home. Come back 2 days into an office and then work from home. Let's see how you're doing. How are you feeling? How is daycare going? How are you feeling about leaving your baby? All of that a lot of times was hard, pumping, because I'd be a company meeting and I'd be well, okay, now I'm trying to schedule my pumping around these meetings and I'm uncomfortable. And so what does it look like if I could pump in your meeting? Everyone else is uncomfortable, but that's my choice. I'm fine. Instead of hiding in a closet in an office somewhere and they wanted me to travel for work and I couldn't because I was pumping. So supporting things like milk stores so they can ship their milk. Giving me some kind of course of what it's like to return from work. So one of the things I actually do with Sprinkles is I go into companies and I'll have courses for parents that are returning to work. So what do they need to know about how do you plan your pumping schedule? What do you need for your first few weeks of work? What does the support system look like? Because so many parents think they have to do everything. I have to be the one that picks up my kid. I'm the kid one that drops them. No, you could ask your partner. It could be someone else at your daycare bringing your kid home, right? It could be your parent. How do you create a village and a support system that really helps you? And so those are things no one teaches you that employees could learn, or just moms in general can learn to really help set them up for success.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I've realized, just give me 2 seconds, Brooke. I'm just going to turn my light on because it's going really dark outside and I've just noticed on the camera I'm disappearing in the screen. So hang on.
It's okay.
There we go. Let's get my light on. There we go.
No worries.
I think one of the things that I've noticed when I've been speaking to parents, and obviously the sort of the space that I'm in on social media as well, I've noticed that kind of companies they only look at kind of the short term kind of thing of parents. They go, right, okay, well, this person has been on maternity leave for 9 months. They've had 9 months off. That's it. Like you say, they've got to jump back in. They've got to get straight back into work because they've already missed 9 months. I'm paying them to do this and they've not been there. Or they'll say, that parent had 2 days off last week because her kid was sick with chicken pox, or she had to leave early last week because her kid was sick and she had to pick her up from school early, blah, 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 blah. They only look at the sort of the negatives of it rather than going, if I create a happy workforce and I support the people that are in my business, I take into consideration that, yes, okay, this person did have 2 days off last week because their children were sick. But if I can make that person not feel uncomfortable for being off sick, with their children or having to leave work early, and I am there for that person, and I, support them, and I'm creating an environment for them at work where they're happy, and they're not worrying about their children all the time. They're not worrying about their job being in jeopardy because they might have to leave early and they might have
Right.
to do this. The person, the parent, is going to put in that much more effort for that company and work that much harder when they are there. They're going to be that person that actually is going to become indispensable to that company if that company is looking after them and providing that space where they can be a parent and be a work person as well, someone that is a valuable member of the team. And I think businesses forget that a lot of the time. And that actually I've found, and speaking to parents on the podcast, that a lot of the times parents are the hardest workers, but they're the ones that get kind of mistreated the worst at companies because people think that they're going to let them down all the time because they've got to go and do this to their children. And I think my husband's work, for example, he's a butcher, and his company that he works for now, they are amazing. Anytime he's got, our child has got a Christmas play that he needs to go to, or he needs to leave to pick them up from school, or he needs to, I had to go to the hospital one day and I obviously couldn't take my child. So he had to come home from work really out of the blue. And they were like, yeah, just go. Do you want a lift? Do you want us to take you? They were absolutely amazing with him. They've never questioned him. And he is their hardest worker. And they know that because he respects that company. He doesn't want to mess that company around because they give him respect. So he gives that respect back by working 10 times harder than he probably would do for any other company. And I think that's what companies need to sort of recognize, I think, sometimes. And I think that's what they forget.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a numbers game, like how much input, output, to your point, days off, not working. We're paying you, we are paying, for your office, if it's an office job, right? And you're not there. And I think it's kind of times have changed.
Yeah.
But again, I still think wholeheartedly that it's really hard, the expectations that maybe moms, you could say parents, are put on themselves, where they're like trying to be a good parent and trying to raise your kids and trying to go to the doctor's appointments and trying to go to the, after school activities. And you're like, if you look like, 60, 70 years ago, parents were either that working parent, right? And like grandma would take them, I'm not trying to quote J.D. Vance, just for the record, but or a neighbor was taking them, right? Or a sibling was taking them, or a cousin. Like all these people were helping parents, so it didn't always have to be us doing it. And I think somewhere along the way, it got lost to, we have to do it all. I have to do everything. It's my kid. I have to be at every doctor's appointment. I have to be at every soccer practice. I have to be at every, which, don't get me wrong, I want to be, but it's really hard, unhealthy expectation that I could do that and be working at the same time, a full-time job, So some things in society, at least in the US, I can't speak for the UK, it's like we're trying to figure out how to change it so that we can have that, because it takes a village to raise a child. It's not just me. It's not just my partner. It literally I need to have my neighbors helping me. I need to have, I don't like always saying paying for things because, costs, everyone has different wealth standards. But like now if I'm working, I have to pay for someone else to cook. Like I can't, it's really hard to do both. I can't do my grocery shopping. I have to pay for Instacart, for someone else to do my grocery shopping. I have to pay for whatever XYZ because I can't do, I can't be expected to be gardening and watering, like all these things, and cleaning my house, like all these things I can't do and be working. Like you just have to outsource, have someone, family or friend help you. And like, I think that's the biggest thing that's holding women back and, really making it hard to have a business and a baby. Yeah. And that's why people aren't doing it, right? Like there's a drastic decline in women having children right now.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned just then actually about the village, and obviously there are I think obviously there are probably more people now, unfortunately, that don't have a village. I think it is probably more common to not have a village than it is to have a village these days.
Right.
I think, as you say, going back into maybe the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, it was a very, it takes a village to raise a child. The neighbours would get involved, the parents, the grandparents, the great-grandparents. And now, like you say, it is all down to maybe that one mum, or maybe mum and dad, if you're lucky, and that's it. And what advice would you have for expecting families who maybe don't have a strong village in place at the moment, or how can they kind of go about maybe finding one or creating one? Where would they go to start their own little village if they don't have one already?
Yeah, so that was originally what I was trying to do with Sprinkles, frankly, was most people get their village from a religion, right? Like from your church, your synagogue, your temple, whatever it is. Again, now we're in a society where we're not as religious as our parents are.
Yeah.
And so we're not getting it from those places anymore. So I was trying to figure out with Sprinkles, like, how do I connect people and make them all help each other? So for those that, aren't in the Bay Area, I think it sounds silly, but I did a class once where we made a map. So Beyonce isn't Beyonce by just like being Beyonce. She has like 7 people that are helping her, right? Or, however her staff is in order to be Beyonce. Jesus had his 12 disciples, I believe.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right, but I'm not a religious person.
Yeah, me neither. But like, he had his disciples that were all supporting Jesus, right? Yeah. And for us to be parents where, you put on your mask to help your kids, you need everyone supporting you so that you can help your kids, right? And so literally, like, on a map one time for this like women's group or whatever, I remember I had to make, the 12 people in my circle that are going to be, my village, to turn me into this mom Beyonce. And it was so silly, but at the same time, it really was true. Like, okay, I now tap into my next door neighbor and she brings my son to school. Our kids are a year apart. She's not working, so she's happy to. She's driving her daughter anyways. Like, what's one more? Okay, cool. I don't have any grandparents. I don't have any family nearby. I live in California. My family is all on the East Coast. I need some grandparents kind of like helping, guiding. So there's a few older people in my neighborhood. So, okay, like, we go over there for dinner. Like, they love having the company. They're lonely. So, okay, they can be there, on weekends to like hang out with my kids for a few hours. How do I build a village after school? Like, okay, could this parent drop my kid off? I'll pick up, And I just started to figure out, okay, what are all the things I'm doing? Who are the people that are going to these things? Making friends with them, figuring out how we can like carpool, how we can do things. People in my office, what are your kids doing? Oh, okay, we can both do, I mean, it's the same soccer, so I can have my kid get dropped off here and you can pick our kid up and then, meet me back at the office if you're, I don't know, whatever it could be. So really just like tapping into the people that are around me to help with raising my kid. And there are lots of cool technologies that are coming out now, all created by moms, frankly, like Honeycomb Labs, that's helping you like bring your parent community together, just like all the parents in your school, because you don't get a directory anymore. So you don't know the other parents. Yeah. Everything is you can talk to a teacher, the teacher can talk to you, or the teacher can talk to all the parents at once, but there's not as much like one-to-one parent. You have to like ask. Some people are putting business cards in their kids' backpacks to make play dates or notes to people, but it's like really hard to catch the parents. So like there's like I said, Honeycomb Labs is trying to create that like village again with all the school parents. There are other really cool products like Pop-ins that are trying to like take all the weight off of like your all the minutia school emails and all that and calendaring. There's so much tech happening right now in the space to like help connect families like Constella. So really important to just build your village early on. Like when you go to the hospital, have a meal train, right? Like who of your friends can organize a meal train so you have meals every night. I didn't even know that was a thing. Like no one told me until I had my second and someone set it up for me. No one set it up for my first. So I think there's just so many things that other people can do for you and you can just set up ahead of time so that way you're set up for success.
Yeah. Okay. I've never heard of any of those ones. The one that I used myself, if I'll put those in the show notes, Honeycomb Labs, did you say?
Yeah.
Was the one. Because I had my little boy in lockdown, so I didn't have a village around during the time, as a lot of people didn't. I had my husband and that was it. But one of the apps that I used, which I've mentioned quite a few times on the show, was an app called Peanut, it's called.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you have it in
Yeah,
America,
we
but
do. We do.
I call it Tinder for mums. That's what I call it. And it works exactly the same as Tinder. You put your sort of bio on about you and you as a parent, how old your children
Yeah.
are, where you are. And it was fantastic. And I met my now best friend through it. And it's been great. There's, groups on there that you can join. There's obviously the individual chats that you can have with parents, but it was a really good app for me at the time, and it was a really good way of creating that little bit of community that I needed, going with the sort of the techie side of it. How would a parent or an expecting parent use an online community to their advantage to build a network or to build a support network? What would be the best way for them to go about doing that?
Yeah, totally. And just really quick to back up, I will send you after this. I created a list of like top parent tech apps to help them with, making their lives easier, frankly. So I'll send that to you. But to how to use community, I think is a really great question because parents don't know how to do that. So there are a few people in every community, especially Facebook communities. It could be a Slack community. It could be your school community, right? There are the hand raisers and askers. I'm one of those that's always asking questions. And that's where I get all my information. And I ask a ton of questions. People really know me because I ask so many questions and they know all my business as a result, which is I'm okay with. Two, there are the lurkers. Those are the people that like aren't asking questions, but they're reading all the responses. Like they have the questions. They're ones that like actually use the search tool to search things. And they're very big lurkers of like what is happening. And then there are people that are just like, and I actually really respect these people. I want to be this person that just are like, not they don't care, but they're not worried about it. Like they're not worried about which I want to be that person who's like, whatever, if my kid goes to soccer or tennis, like who cares? Like I'll just sign up, whatever. Like they don't put any thought. They don't worry about it. Like they're like rolling with it. Like they're not exerting as much energy as I think some of us are now exerting into our kids. We're just so focused on is the right tennis. Are they getting the most support? Are they getting this and that, and like we're so much more involved in our kids, than our parents were, which is I think why, frankly, so a really quick tangent, there wasn't as much autism and AD, there wasn't as many things previously because our parents weren't looking for it, were too busy to notice and didn't care. Not that they didn't care, but like they just like, that's not what they were focused on. They were focused on doing their job, keeping their kid alive. That was really, it for baseline for parents. They weren't thinking about our emotional well-being. They weren't thinking about, just getting to have good grades at school is all they really cared about. That's why. So anyways, but then again, back to use your community. Use your community at school, daycare. Know every parent in every place that you go. Because one, two, like at least for me, like I made my best friends. We're in the trenches right now together at this moment. Sure, I had friends before, cool. But like they're not trying to figure out what shirt to wear for Spirit Day. They're not trying to figure out, like what I need to pack for lunch. Like literally I make friends in each of my kids' classes, even my second kid. So like tap into them because those are the people that like refer me jobs. Those are the people like tapping into community. They're the ones that are there for me. And those are the ones that like give my kid a ride home when my tire blows out. Like I need them. I literally need the parents in my kids' class to help me. And like I help them when they have something. Like I'm happy to help bring their kid to school. I'm happy, to do XYZ or recommend something to them so they don't have to figure out which dance class to go to. Like, here, I already did the research. Like I think parents forgot about, using your classroom and being friends with the parents. Like we don't have to be like do girls trips. That'd be great. I'd love to get our nails done, but like we can all help each other. Like we're not doing that. And so I think school communities, Facebook communities, religious communities, find a community. Like you have to find your people. If it's like I have a gym community that I love and tap into, and they're always, helping me in so many ways. We all forgot how to network. And, that's what's really the biggest thing in life is like who your network is, who the people you surround yourself with, who the people who your kids know. Like I can't tell you, speaking of getting services really quick, is my son was diagnosed with AED, took 9 months to get a diagnosis or to get the appointment for behavioral medicine, 3 months till we got the diagnosis. And in the meantime, I just got him into OT because I didn't need any diagnosis for OT, just more for you, Lucy, if interested.
Okay.
And that OT person who I just was covered by insurance, had for my son, turns out I just was always really like nice to her. She was planning her wedding. I got her a little like cake for my son, cupcakes to celebrate. Her mom turned out to be the respite care East Bay Regional Center person. And the mom was like, wait, I've heard about a kid named Jace, my daughter mentioned. And she came home with a little cupcake or whatever from him. And she mentioned, like, is this the same Jace? Did you have my daughter Megan? And I was like, yes. And so because I knew her daughter, built this relationship with all the staff at the OT, seeing how they were, meeting the other parents in the OT, doing play groups with the OT kids that were going in and out so we could all like help socialize our kids. When I needed respite care, like her mom could move me to the top of, help me move the list or help me navigate the list or help me, you know what I mean?
That's nice.
And so it really is important to for us parents who want to have a business, who have babies, is work with other people. You have to connect with other people. You have to be friendly to other people because we all need each other. We're not supposed to do I can't remember if you were saying this, just do your one job every day and not see around you. You have to talk to the other employees. Their kids are probably going through the same thing. And that's really how it all needs to be.
Yeah, I was going to say that when you were talking about you've got the different types of parents at the parent meetings and things like that. You've got the askers and you've got the quiet ones. And I'm probably more on that asker side where my husband keeps saying, oh God, don't ask any more questions. I'm like, yeah, but I need to know. And I was going to say to sort of go with that point that you said about that with sort of helping other parents is if you are maybe one of those parents that is a little bit more on the confident side and a bit more of the talker parents and the asker parents and the ones that are a little bit more approachable, maybe go and approach some of the parents that are a little bit quieter and aren't sort of making a beeline for all the other parents. If you see another parent that is maybe sort of standing waiting at the school gates and you've noticed them a few times and they're not talking, they don't seem to be interacting with people, to maybe just go up and say, hi, I'm so and so's mom and my kid's in this class. And because that parent, yes, okay, they might just be not wanting to talk and they may just not want to have anything to do with anyone, and that's fine, that is okay. But they might be a parent that is looking for a bit of support and they're just too shy or too nervous to go and make the first move and talk to other people. And like you say, we are all going through the same thing, and when you are worried about asking a question in front of, the school or whatever, or other parents, don't be afraid to ask a question because you probably are not the only one that's thinking it.
Right.
You're just the only one brave enough to ask. No, you're just the only one that's brave enough to ask. So
yeah,
it's
it's
just
hard because I don't know where the spectrum your son is for autism. My son is something called.
We haven't been told yet, but he's had speech and language involved. I don't know what the sort of process is over where you are, but over here, he got referred by his nursery. We'd sort of picked up on little things that he was doing at home that were sort of striking us as being a little bit more than just a habit that he'd done or got into. And we were kind of going, I think he's maybe doing that a little bit too much. And he was lining his toys up, which I know children of that age do. He was doing it quite a lot. Then you combine it with the fact that he was hand flapping quite a lot and it was getting worse. His language was a little bit delayed. He talks, he's fully vocal, he's fully verbal. His language took a lot longer to come in than other people's his age and other children's his age. It's still not 100% to where his age group should be, but it's getting there. So he was referred by his nursery, speech and language originally. Speech and language then referred him to the children's autism assessment team. We then had to wait for contact from that team, which took around a year for that team to get in contact with us. By which point he had started kindergarten. Kindergarten made a separate referral because they'd picked up on stuff. They had noticed that he was doing something called oppositional defiant disorder, I think it is.
Yeah, PDA.
Yeah,
pathological
that's it.
Defiance. Avoidance.
That's it. Demand avoidance. That's it. Yeah. So every time they sort of, told him to do something, he just flat out just didn't do it. He would shut down completely. So they referred him again. We chased it up, and eventually the autism team got in touch with us and they said, yeah, we need to come and do a school visit. So then we had to wait like another 4 months for them to book a school visit. They did the school visit. And then they said, right, okay, we need to do a home visit now just to see if there's any differences between how he is at home and how he is at school. So then we had to wait, I think it was like another 3 months for that appointment. So we're now just waiting for a call again to get another home visit booked in and another school visit. So it's taken, like I say, he's 4.5 now, and this has been going on since he was about 12 months old. And it's an absolute joke.
Yeah,
To be
I'm so
honest.
sorry you're going through that. That's really, really hard. That's super, super hard to figure out. Well,
Yeah.
I can't remember where I was going with the assessment. Was similar to you probably, was that my son's twice exceptional. So meaning that he speaks really well. He knows every capital of every country. He knows algebra and geometry, and he's like about to turn 6. And he started reading at 2 years old. So he's like, his brain's here, but he like emotional capacity there, and because of the wide range, it makes it super difficult. And it was difficult to address it and figure out how to use it. And like, it's probably something no one would have even thought to support, or, just think he's really smart. So I think it's all these things now that we're starting to realize and recognize and, help support our kids and help find other people that are in the same boat as you, because there's so many other parents I found just like this, right? And they help me and I can help someone else, and here are my resources. We don't need to create the wheel. Like, yes, life is a journey and we're learning as we go, but the part that we're all missing, and I don't know if you saw in the US, our Surgeon General said that parents are burning out as a result, is that because it's all on us. We don't have a support system anymore. We don't have someone who's making the dinners like they used to be in the villages. We don't have all these things, or we're having to pay for it, which is then putting us all bankrupt. So you're kind of, it's $85,000 for 2 kids in preschool here in the Bay Area, which is unreasonable.
Yes, definitely. We're lucky in the UK, we don't have those kind of costs, but
right. So it like sets you back so much. And like, I didn't want to work, but I didn't also want to stay home with my kids. I wanted to miss them. I wanted to use my talents. I wanted to help others. And and so I had to choose working, and hopefully my kids will both go to public school next year. But then there's still after school and this activity. And so, it's a very cost prohibitive to have kids. But yeah, this was great. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the conversation. I love what you're doing. Let me know how I can support your community in any way.
Yeah, I think we've got kind of similar things on where we wanted to go. Obviously, our business models are different and what we do, but who we actually serve and the reasons why we do that is very similar. My business, Family Sync Media, I set up due to being in the pandemic and being a parent, and it was purely because I think, like you said, parents just have different requirements and different needs in their businesses, and I wanted to offer the services and the skills that I had to parents to be able to help them manage their lives a little bit better. So that was where the virtual assistant started, and then I went on to do sort of social media work and podcast management and sort of progressed from there. But that was the reason that I started my business, was very, very similar to you, and why I wanted to do what I do to help parents. So I wanted to sort of just finish very quickly with like one of your kind of go-to little tips on maybe, I don't know, time management, for example. What's your kind of go-to thing on how you sort of juggle work, kids, and your personal life, or do you just wing it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, let me start with, I'm ADHD, so time management is like not in the cards for me. Like, I have no concept of time. That's why I'm like looking at my clock right now going, oh snap. I mean, for my family, we have a giant whiteboard where we write everything down. We have a different color for each person and what their day looks like at what time, so we know who's getting picked up when. There are amazing tech companies, not to go back to that, but that are creating, I don't know if you have in the UK, all these digital boards and calendar boards and stuff like that, which are really awesome and helpful. But I'm waiting till I can get a real big horizontal board that I haven't seen any of those out there. You have vertical or like a horizontal frame. But anyways, so we have a family meeting every week. So we go through what everyone is doing every day and what our schedules look like. Kids get to eat as much candy as they want. And so that way it's fun, it's engaged. I have a pre-meeting with my partner where we kind of go through and like make the actual calendar, writing stuff down. So it's just a review with the kids, and the kids might add in things we forgot or things they want to do if there is free time, which we usually don't have. Or if they have 2 things at once, like a birthday party and a class, we'll say like, hey, which do you want to do? But for me, like every morning I go to the gym. I drop my kids off, and from 9 to 10, I have to go to the gym. Like, I'm sorry, anyone who wants to meet with me for clients, like I need this time of like, it's a, getting them to school, getting them on time, getting them dressed, getting them back. Like, it's like, go, go, go. And I need that time to just like, whew.
That's your headspace time.
Yeah. And then after that, I have to shower because as a mom, especially moms of babies who are listening, like you can go days without showering. So if I don't go to the gym and shower, that shower's not happening. So I have to do those two things. And then I just try and block out my calendar. I try to move things. If it's not important, I try not to go to it. I can send someone else. I used to feel like I have to do everything and go to every meeting and do it. And like, I don't. Like I have to, figure out what's important, prioritize meetings, prioritize activities, and prioritize where I exert my energy. That's my big thing because I want to give and give to everyone, but I really need to focus on, I only have so much energy that can go to a kid or go to a client. And so like, I have to balance both of those so I'm not snapping at my kids. And what else would I say? I go for a walk every time at noon. This is my actual noon walk time, which is why I'm like, I have to go reset and like do my daily walk so I can like process things and think. And I just have to take a lot of care of myself, which sounds when I first used to hear people say that, I thought it was crazy, but I literally have to do so much self-care because I burnt out. I've gone really bad depression. I've become suicidal at times when I don't take care of myself. And so don't, rest. I go try and do yoga retreat. Every year by myself. I have to go to every 3 months. I go to a hotel room by myself. And it's not anything fancy. I just go to like, whatever hotel tonight, cheap hotel. I'm just sitting there like not making a breakfast, getting up early, all the things.
Yeah.
So I just think the self-care is really how you can do it all. And I hope that this helps others and especially any moms with special needs kids.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good place to end on, is that you need to look after yourself because you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give to your children as best as you probably would want to if you're running on a flat battery. So
yeah,
I think that's a really good place to end. So thank you so much, Brooke, for coming on. I really appreciate talking to you and you giving your time. Do you want to just mention where people can come and find you if they want to come and get some more info from you?
Absolutely. So you can, if you are a business and you're needing help with any marketing, sales, coaching, strategy, execution, you can go to my website, brookeshapiro.com. I have lots of free courses and tools to learn for marketing as well. If you're looking for support with your family and babies or at your office to help set you up for success, you can check out sprinklesparents.com. Also on Instagram, Sprinkles Parents. On TikTok, if you just like to have fun like I do, you can check out the Minivan Mama. Every time after I drop off my kids, I go on to TikTok and just like talk about something crazy my kid said or something I've noticed or something happening that's relatable and, just want to make you parents feel less alone, help them thrive and connect. So thank you so much, Lucy, for giving me this platform and opportunity to connect with your audience. And hopefully if I can help someone, that's all I want to do in life.
Definitely. Thank you so much for coming on, Brooke. And I will pop Brooke's details in the show notes as well for anyone that wants them. So yeah, that's been amazing. So thank you again, Brooke, for coming on. And we will see you all next week for the next episode of Balancing Business and Babies. Thank you very much.